kind of it's a fun experience because in a normal interview situation, if I'm talking to the star and the director of the film, we have to be coy, but because everybody has seen the film, we don't have to worry about spoiler alert. We'll discuss it a little bit more in depth. And you know, one of the things I love about this film is it's so many different stories. It's a historical epic, it's a war drama, it's a romance, it's a family film. And as a director, you know, I think the obvious question is, you're somebody as an actor who's been around for a long time, and I'm sure you had a lot of opportunities to direct before. What was it about this project that made you say, I'm going to devote not just the time you have to do as a director, but as the primary filmmaker to this project?
Well, it hit me on many different levels. Obviously, the tales surrounding the Battle of Gallipoli are a very important cultural touchstone in Australia and New Zealand, and have been for the last 100 years. So it hit me on that level. You know, the story of Josh O'Connor, a man with 3 children who go to war and don't come back, as a father of 2 boys. It's obvious that that was going to hit me at a very essential level as well. But I also thought I saw an opportunity within this script to reshape the point of view that we have on Gallipoli. And, you know, because like most nations, when they stop to remember the sacrifice of their young soldiers, we only ever look at the conflict from our point of view. Mm-hmm. And I thought after 100 years it was time to maybe open up that perspective a little bit more and see and hear from the other side.
Well, it's the 100-year anniversary, and you know, American audiences might not know. They know a little bit more now, and of course the Peter Weir film, Gallipoli. It's such a key historical moment, and I don't want to say a holiday, but it's a day of remembrance in Australia. And it is, you know, I thought it was a bold stance because this is a film in which you look at it. Obviously, the protagonist is Australian, but we really get to see it from the other point of view. And there's many emotional scenes, but the scene where Joshua, you know, rushes, you know, the Turkish officer, and you know, you killed my beautiful boys, and he's like, you invaded our country, you know, and I thought that was, you know, kind of a brave stance to take.
Well, that word invasion is just not a word that we use in Australia and New Zealand. You know, we stop on the 25th of April every year, which is what we call Anzac Day. Anzac stands for the Australian New Zealand Army Corps. And we remember the sacrifice of those young men, in fact, of men and women in the services throughout the conflicts of the past 100 years. It's very similar to your Memorial Day. And, you know, as I was saying before, we just don't ever take into account that other perspective. When I started using that word, invasion, people got quite upset with it at first. But what else is it? You know, we went onto the soil of a sovereign nation that we ourselves had never had an angry word with. So when we were armed, that's what you call an invasion, folks, you know? And, you know, at first there was kind of a little pushback about it in Australia, but then when people started to see it in the numbers that did, that all settled down because people started to realize that, you know, there's a lot of love in this movie.
Absolutely.
This movie's not trying to denigrate any level of remembrance of sacrifice. It's actually just trying to promote opening our hearts a little bit more. You've got to be done by now. Thanks.
Evacuation, very much, very much. Well, and that's, I mean, that, you know, that is the grace and the advantage of looking at things through history, because if you look at someone like, you know, what Clint Eastwood did with Flags of Our Fathers and then Sands of Iwo Jima, where you're telling the same story from 2 points of view. And again, one of the strong points of this film is we see that there is this honor among soldiers, and there's some respect, because after the war is over, these men, whether they're enlisted officers or whether they're, you know, 17-year-olds or whatever the case may be, they're not worried about the politics. They, you know, you're the 3 boys in this movie, they kind of go off on this grand adventure, and even Joshua as a father doesn't really comprehend what that all means. And I think this film, you know, seeing what happens in the aftermath, where these different cultures and the Turkish major and the Australian farmer, and they kind of team up over a common thing, because it's bigger than just, you know, what all the politicians and all the battles over turf are all about. It's about humanity. So,
Usually there's a question at the end of a speech like that.
which leads me to this question. Which leads me to the question
I
of,
thought you were being, yes, good.
son of a bitch,
I love Chicago.
fucking guy, right?
You can't have a chat like this in LA.